Brought to you by Penguin.
Only Here for a Visit, written and read by Alan Brazil. For all the great players I've played with and against, sadly, many have passed. Chapter 1, Hoops Dreams. Sometimes I feel like I've lived two separate lives. Indeed, there are people who listen to my show on talkSPORT and have no idea I played football professionally. It happens a lot with sports people who hang up the boots, clubs, rackets, bat, and take up the microphone instead. I suppose it shows that I've been able to completely reinvent myself, which I should take as a compliment. But once upon a time, I was a pretty handy footballer, and when I was a kid growing up in Glasgow, my whole life was about football. I was only 7 when Celtic's Lisbon Lions became the first British team to win the European Cup in 1967, but I have hazy memories of gathering around a tiny black and white television to watch it. That's when I learned that grown men cry as well as women. It was just such an incredible story. A bunch of childhood friends, all brought within 25 miles of the East End of Glasgow, Celtic Park, who had come through junior and senior football together and become one of the greatest sides European football had ever seen. Celtic won 9 straight league titles from the 65-66 season, having won only 4 over the previous 40 years. But once upon a time, Billy McNeil, Jimmy Johnson, and Stevie Chalmers were just little kids like me, playing with a tennis ball in the streets and dreaming of playing for the Hoops. Our house was just down the road from Hampden Park. The first game I saw there involved the once mighty Queen's Park, who were then in the second division and played their home games at the National Stadium. That was a strange occasion, standing in this fantastic ground, with more than 100,000 seats, hearing my own cheers echoing off the roof. But when Celtic were playing there, that meant the Hoops were in another cup final. Not that I had tickets when I was a little kid. Instead, me and some pals would take a ball with us, sit in the hill. We'd only be able to see the Celtic end of Hampden. That was the east stand, and didn't have a cover on it. If there was a big roar and we saw people jumping up and down, and clouds of dust rising up, we knew that Celtic had scored. If there was a more distant roar, we'd known then that the other team had scored, which was normally Rangers from Glasgow as well, and never a good thing. But the game that really stands out for me that era happened 3 years after the triumph of the Lisbon Lions, when Celtic played Leeds United in the European Cup semi-final, the second leg at Hampden Park. Celtic manager Jock Stein had switched to tie from Celtic Park to make it as intimidating as possible for Don Reevy's English League champions. I was still in shorts. There was no way my parents were going to let me go to the game. But, as luck would have it, my pal, John Riley, school friend, lived just off Aikenhead Road, and his garden incredibly backed into the wall at the Celtic end, and just before kick-off, we stuck a ladder against the wall, and about 12 of us all climbed up and in and scrambled into the ground. Billy Bremner scored an absolute cracker to put the English champions ahead in the night, before John Hughes and Bobby Murdoch put the tie to bed for Celtic. The official attendance that day was 136,505, a record for the tournament. But that was just the paying punters. If you accept that we weren't the only fans who bunked in, the true figure might have been closer to 140,000. My heroes lost the final against Holland's Feyenoord, which was as devastating as the victory over Inter Milan 3 years earlier was beautiful. From the time I could walk, I was nagging my mum to get me cup final tickets, and eventually she caved in and bought 2 for the 1970 League Cup final between, you've guessed it, Celtic and Rangers. The problem was we were all on the wrong end, not in the terraces, but on the wrong side of the halfway line. And Rangers' 16-year-old striker, Derek Johnson, climbed and scored a great header, the only goal of the game. I get terrible pelters that day from Rangers and Celtic fans. Celtic fans were having a go at me for sitting with the enemy, and the Rangers fans were having a go at me for being...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?